What if your exhaustion isn't from doing too much, but from not wanting anything deeply enough anymore? There's a specific kind of ache that no amount of rest can cure. It's not physical, and it's not exactly emotional either. It's the hollow behind your eyes when you smile, the weight in your chest when you wake up and realize nothing excites you. Not food, not touch, not even the future. You say you're tired, but what you mean is you can't feel the pulse of your own life. Somewhere along the line, your libido didn't just dim, it disappeared. And before you click away thinking this is just another talk about sex, stop. Because libido, as Freud understood it, is not just sexual. It's everything. It's the desire to eat, to create, to run, to hold, to build a life so meaningful it hurts. Libido is the current that animates everything alive. And when it shuts down, so do you. Most people don't realize this, but the absence of desire is not peace, it's paralysis. A person without libido doesn't just lack sex drive, they lack direction. They struggle to start, to finish, to care. They look alive, but inside, they're watching life happen through glass. What if I told you that your inability to concentrate, your shrinking curiosity, your fading hunger for life isn't laziness or depression, it's blocked desire, repressed energy, a frozen river that once surged through you, now trapped under layers of guilt, shame, and social conditioning. You used to feel fire, remember? As a child, you wanted everything, to run fast, climb high, draw on the walls, kiss without asking. You didn't wait to want. Your body was your compass. You followed what thrilled you. But then you were taught to behave, to control yourself, to be appropriate. And that's when the freezing began. This script isn't about becoming more sexual. It's about becoming more alive. Because if your libido is gone, it's not just your sex life that's flatlining. It's your creativity, your ambition, your capacity to feel joy. What if everything you've believed about desire, that it must be tamed, that it's shameful, that it's dangerous, has been wrong? And what if the only way to find yourself again is to follow the heat?
Stay. This changes everything. Repressed sexuality is the cause of neurosis, Sigmund Freud. You thought it was just stress, that your forgetfulness, your scrolling, your zoning out in conversations were just quirks of a busy modern life. But let's be honest, you're not just distracted. You're disconnected. From food, from people, from yourself. You bite into meals without tasting. You touch without feeling. You exist without living. And you've called it normal. But what if it isn't? What if the emptiness you feel when you wake up isn't because life is meaningless, but because your libido has gone missing? And here's the shocking part. You never meant to lose it. You were trained out of it, slowly, quietly, by a world that told you desire is dangerous. You were taught that lust must be hidden, that wanting too much is greedy, that hunger is a flaw, that to be good, you must be tame. So you became tame. You dimmed your voice, you silenced your impulses, you turned your body into a schedule and your soul into a checklist. Productive, polished, predictable. But underneath it all, your libido, that sacred drive toward pleasure, connection, and creation, was shrinking. Not dying, just caged. And caged libido doesn't disappear. It mutates into anxiety, restlessness, procrastination. You're not lazy, you're misaligned. You're fighting a battle between what you feel and what you're allowed to show. Every time you say yes when your body says no, your libido weakens. Every time you fake interest, fake orgasms, fake enthusiasm, your life force withdraws. And you've normalized this numbness. You tell yourself, I'm just getting older. This is adulthood. Everyone feels this way. But not everyone is living half alive. That's not the price of maturity. That's the cost of repression. Freud saw it clearly. When libido is repressed, the psyche fragments. The self becomes divided, the performing self and the real self. And the more you perform, the more exhausted you become. Because performance burns energy, desire generates it. If you feel tired all the time, if the world looks gray, if you can't remember the last time you felt truly turned on by life, it's not a crisis of willpower. It's a crisis of connection to your own instinct, your own wanting, your own right to feel deeply again. This isn't just about sex. It's about your ability to move toward what nourishes you, to say yes without guilt, to say no without fear. You don't need motivation.
You need permission to want again. Because the moment you let desire speak, everything changes. And if that idea stirs something deep in you, wait. The next part will reveal exactly why you became this way, and why it's not your fault. The great problems of life are all, in essence, problems of libido. Sigmund Freud. You didn't choose to feel this numb. You adapted. Somewhere in your earliest years, long before you had words, your nervous system was already learning. When I reach, do I get warmth or withdrawal? When I cry, am I soothed or shamed? And that's where it began. Because libido isn't just about sex. It's about reaching. The instinct to move toward what feels good, what excites, what fulfills. And if, as a child, reaching led to rejection, you learned to stop reaching. Maybe you grew up with subtle coldness, parents who were nice but emotionally distant. Maybe your desires were labeled too much, your energy too intense. Maybe you were praised only when you were quiet, helpful, obedient. And so the split began. You learned that aliveness was a risk, and your body, so wise, so ancient, began to bury its instincts to keep you safe. This is not just psychology, it's neurobiology. Studies on attachment show that when we consistently suppress our impulses, whether it's crying, laughing, or craving, the brain adapts by downregulating arousal system. In other words, your body stops sending the signal of desire because it no longer expects a satisfying response. This is not laziness. This is learned helplessness in the erotic realm. And it doesn't stop with childhood. School taught you to sit still when your body wanted to move. Religion taught you that pleasure must be earned. Culture taught you that sex is something you give away or withhold, but rarely something you fully inhabit. Even wellness culture betrayed you, telling you to breathe through your impulses, to transcend desire, to be above it. But you were never meant to rise above your body, you were meant to rise through it. Because libido is not a distraction, it's direction. It's the compass of your aliveness. And when it gets suppressed, the consequences spill into everything. You stop initiating, in bed, in life. You wait to be chosen, you wait for permission. You overthink every decision. You numb out with dopamine snacks and half-hearted scrolling. You're surrounded by stimulation but feel nothing. Because when libido goes underground, it takes with it your passion, your voice, your creative fire. This is why you're stuck. This is why even small tasks feel heavy. It's not lack of discipline, it's a nervous system trained to deny its own wants. And now, years later, you wonder why you can't find motivation. But tell me, how can you move forward when the part of you that wants is locked in a cage? The next part will show you what happens when that cage begins to crack, when the numbness gives way to something terrifying and alive. What you resist persists. Carl Jung. There comes a moment, and maybe you're there now, when the numbness starts to ache, not loudly, quietly, like a background hum in your soul that won't shut off, like a low, persistent throb under your everyday tasks. You can't name it, but you feel it, that something's missing, that you're moving through the motions of life like a ghost inside your own body. You go to work, you check the boxes, you smile in the photos, but something is off, like you're wearing a mask made of your old self, and beneath it is emptiness. And this is when the reversal begins, because once you've lived like this long enough, once you've tried every productivity hack, every supplement, every meditation, every self-help trick, and still feel flat, something cracks. You start to suspect, maybe the problem isn't my mindset. Maybe the problem is deeper. Maybe I've cut myself off from the very thing that made life electric, my libido. But even here, even when the ache becomes unbearable, the shame clings, because desire still feels dangerous, and admitting you miss your libido feels taboo. So you try to fix it sideways. You change jobs, you break up, you relocate, you redo your routine, you try to get your mojo back through discipline. But it doesn't work because the energy is gone. The wanting is gone. You want to want, but you don't know how. And here's the cruelest part. You can't go back to the old life. Not fully. You've already tasted the truth, that it doesn't fit, that the numbness is not sustainable, that shrinking yourself for the comfort of others is killing you slowly. But you don't yet know how to go forward either, because the forward path requires reclaiming something you were taught to fear. Your aliveness, your sensuality, your raw, untamed hunger for more. And that's terrifying. You might ask yourself, what if I'm too much? What if I change and lose people? What if they think I've gone mad, or worse, selfish? But the deeper question is this: what if you never let your real self live? This is the liminal space, where the old self dies and the new self hasn't yet arrived. It's disorienting, it's lonely, it's full of false starts, but it's the start, because here, you're no longer pretending that being disconnected is okay. You're no longer forcing smiles or faking desire. You know now, deeply, that your life cannot continue like this. You just don't yet know how to begin again. And that, my love, is where everything truly changes. In the next part, we begin to listen. Not to the mind, but to the body. To the quiet, almost forgotten signals of life trying to return. Let yourself be silently drawn by the strange pull of what you really love. It will not lead you astray. Rumi. It doesn't begin with fireworks. It begins with a flicker. A moment where, for no clear reason, you notice the way sunlight hits the wall and something in you responds. You pause, you feel the warmth, and for a split second, you're there, inside your body. This is how libido returns, not as a tidal wave, but as a pulse. At first it confuses you. You're used to being numb. You're used to going through the day in grayscale. So when a sudden craving stirs, for chocolate, for music, for someone's touch, you hesitate. Can I trust this? Is this real or dangerous? But the moment you stop policing it and start feeling it, the current deepens. If you feel a connection, hit subscribe and keep exploring with Senthora. Grateful for your support. It goes deeper than you think. This is not lust, it's not distraction, it's presence. It's the first wave of your nervous system remembering what it means to want. Psychologist D.W. Winnicott described this return of vitality in his work on the true self. He wrote of patients who, after years of repression, would start expressing spontaneous gestures, small movements, strange dreams, even childlike laughter. To an outsider, it looked trivial, but to him it was sacred. It meant that the psyche was re-emerging. You may feel it too, awkwardly, unexpectedly, a desire to dance alone in your kitchen, to touch your own skin with tenderness, to look at a tree and suddenly cry, not from sadness, but from remembrance. This is libido, returning. Composer Igor Stravinsky once said that when he was blocked creatively, he didn't try to force music. He would go on long walks, letting his body lead until one day a rhythm would appear, a note would hum in his chest. That's when he knew the desire had come back, because libido is not rational. It's rhythmic. It's felt before it's understood. And in the beginning, it may feel inconvenient. You'll feel silly, sensitive, overwhelmed by things you used to ignore. You'll crave solitude. You'll feel raw. You might laugh in the middle of a meeting, cry at a commercial, get turned on by a poem. This isn't regression. This is reintegration. Your senses are waking up. Your skin is no longer a border. It's a gateway. Your gaze lingers. Your breath deepens. Your instincts begin whispering again, not with urgency, but with possibility. And with it comes a sacred terror. If I follow this, what will change? The answer? Everything. But not all at once. For now, just notice what moves you, not what's productive, not what's approved, what moves you, because desire is speaking again.
And in the next part, we'll explore what to do with that voice, how to walk the world not as a machine of goals, but as a human being, turned on to life. The energy of the libido can be transformed into social creativity, ambition, spirituality, and love. Carl Jung. Now that desire has returned, even if just a spark, the question becomes, what do I do with it? The old you would have tried to capture it, control it, monetize it, make a 5-year plan around it. But that's not how libido works. It doesn't obey force. It responds to invitation. So here's the paradox. If you want your life force back, you must stop pushing and start following. Because libido isn't about chasing success. It's about letting your success chase you. Let's break this down. 1. Say no to anything that numbs you. Desire cannot live in a body that is constantly overridden. When you say yes to what drains you, you abandon your energy. You leak. The nervous system needs boundaries to trust you again. Not boundaries as punishment, but as protection for your pleasure. Neuroscientist Dan Siegel explains that safety and novelty must coexist for the brain to thrive. When you remove what is predictably deadening, constant social approval, overcommitment, toxic routines, your system creates space for libidinal risk. Which brings us to 2. Follow what feels erotic, even if it's not sexual. The word erotic has been misunderstood. It doesn't mean pornographic. It means charged with life. Ask, what in your day feels electric? A certain color, a melody, a sudden idea that makes your chest expand. That's your cue. That's your compass. Adrienne Marie Brown calls this pleasure activism, living in a way that honors the body's yes, not just in bed, but in every decision. 3. Stop forcing progress. Start following pulse. When libido is active, action doesn't feel like discipline, it feels like devotion. You write because you have to. You build the thing because it won't let you sleep. You show up, not because of guilt, but because desire pulls you forward. Stanford research on intrinsic motivation shows that tasks aligned with internal desire produce longer-lasting engagement and higher creative performance than external reward systems. Translation: libido outperforms hustle every time. 4. Recognize that your sexuality is your strategy. This is not just philosophy, it's neurochemistry. When you allow yourself to feel turned on by beauty, art, touch, ideas, you activate dopamine and oxytocin circuits that drive connection, focus, and courage. You're no longer working against yourself. You're letting the erotic be your engine. Your sexuality is not separate from your ambition. It's the root of it. Jung said that sublimation, the redirection of libido into higher channels, is the soul's evolution. But here's the trick. You can't sublimate what you haven't first embraced. If you shame your sexuality, you block your magic. If you embrace it fully, respectfully, as the sacred current it is, it becomes the fuel for everything. Your art, your leadership, your intimacy, your vision. 5. Practice saying, I want this, and that's enough. Not I've earned it. Not, I deserve it. Just, I want it. And that's sacred. This one phrase rewires centuries of repression, because you were never meant to justify your joy. You were meant to embody it. The next part is where it all lands, the return. Not to who you were, but to who you've always been, beneath the shoulds, the shame, and the silence. Come with me. One last step. Desire is the kindling point of all achievement. Robert Collier. So, here you are. Not fixed, not perfect, but lit from within. Something ancient has returned to you. not a technique, not a strategy, but your fire. The libido you thought was lost was only waiting for you to stop hiding, for you to stop apologizing, for you to feel. And now you do. There's a heat under your skin, a rhythm in your speech, a boldness in your gaze. You are no longer performing desire. You are inhabiting it. And this changes everything. Because the moment you allow your libido to move freely, the entire architecture of your life begins to shift. You stop chasing relationships that drain you. You attract connections that match your frequency. You stop working just to survive. You create, lead, build because the energy demands to be expressed. You stop waiting for permission. You become the source. Because libido doesn't just animate your sexuality, it animates your reality. What you feel drawn to expands. What you touch ignites. What you commit to grows. Not because you force it, but because you are no longer split. Your mind, body, spirit, aligned, wanting the same thing. That's when you become unstoppable. Not loud, not manic, but inevitable. And the world feels it. This is not a motivational speech. This is biological, psychological, existential truth. Desire is not indulgence. It's guidance. The body doesn't lie. When it lights up, listen. When it leans in, follow. When it says yes, let it. Because this is the taste of life on the other side of numbness. Food tastes like memory. Eyes lock with depth. Laughter erupts without warning. Tears fall as devotion. Touch becomes prayer. You don't just survive your day, you inhabit it. And yes, you will lose people. Masks, old goals that were never yours to begin with, but you will gain something unshakable. Your reality will no longer be a reaction. It will be a creation. Born of your body's wisdom, your soul's hunger, your sacred yes. So if you've made it this far, let this be your vow. No more shrinking. No more silencing the current. No more mistaking numbness for peace. You are here to feel, to want, to burn, to build. And it begins not with effort, but with libido, the fire that makes the world. Let it make you. If you thought libido was only about sex, you know better now. It's your fuel, your compass, your power to create. Tell me in the comments, what would change in your life if you followed what truly turns you on, emotionally, creatively, spiritually? Your insight might wake someone else up. And if this shifted your view of desire, don't stop here. The next video is calling. See ya.